Chapter 26, Civilizations in Crisis. We'll look at the Ottoman Empire, the Islamic heartlands, and Qing China. Alright, by the early 1700s, you're going to have power struggles dealing with the West. There's no clear line of succession. The trade that was occurring with the West was really hurting the Ottoman Empire, and so there's going to be some major struggles. The Austrian Habsburgs and Russians are going to take advantage of this. You'll see the Russians in the Crimean War gaining some areas in the Black Sea. Now, the Europeans are going to kind of stop that from going any further into the Mediterranean. You'll also see the Austrian Habsburgs gain back some of their land. This is also going to lead to a lot of independence movements in the Balkan region, like Greece in the 1830s and Serbia in 1867 as well. And by 1870, almost all of the Balkans had had their independence. And that's going to majorly threaten the capital investments that the Ottoman Empire had for their economy. Again, have a good idea of geography that will help you understand this area and what is occurring. Reform and survival. The biggest thing is the Europeans aren't wanting to see any European, including Russia with Eastern Europe, seeing any European country gain too much power, and so therefore they are going to prop up the Ottoman Empire and help them survive all the way into World War I. Selim III is going to try to institute some reforms, and that's going to anger the Janissaries because they are going to see their position start to lose out. Remember, they were the ones that had the military clout with the armament, and they had gained some political power, and so they weren't happy with that, and they're going to have him assassinated in 1807. Mahmud II is going to have a professional army and kind of a secret army in order to lure the Janissary out. He'll have them all killed so he doesn't have to deal with them anymore. And he will start the Tanzimat reforms with Western education, railroads, railways, telephone lines, postal service, the newspaper with freedom of the speech. Now that's short-lived. We'll see that removed in the next slide. And in 1876, you'll see a European-style constitution. Again, that will be short-lived as well. There are some repressions and revolts. There's a lot of people saying that the Sultan was a barrier to westernization. Same thing with the Ulma and the Ayan, the landlords. And so there's kind of a battle that's going to occur. Sultan Abdul Hamid is going to be a despotic absolutism, which is basically a tyrant, and he's going to repress a lot of this, getting rid of freedom of the press and newspapers and getting rid of the Constitution. And so what he's going to do, however, is he is going to keep the infrastructure in place, but that's still not good enough. They want more westernization, they want more rights and freedoms. You'll have the Young Turks emerge and remove Abdul Hamid, and they are going to push for Arab independence in this region. And we'll finally see that conclusion in the next unit. All right, pause there. Okay, Muhammad Ali and the failure of westernization in Egypt. So we're moving from the Ottoman Empire into Egypt. You're going to see Napoleon sneak around the British. He's going to invade Egypt and defeat the Mamluks and remove them from power. And the British are going to move in because they don't want to see any more expansion by Napoleon, fearing he's going to gain too much power. They defeat his navy in the Mediterranean. He's forced to retreat back to France to resupply himself, and he turns his eyes to Russia. And we've already seen that failure from 1812 to 1815 in Russia, and of course we'll see that in the next chapter as well. So Muhammad Ali emerges as an Albanian Ottoman after Napoleon removes himself. The only thing that's important to note about that is Napoleon's victories. The Islamic heartland realizes that they are going to need to change, and industrialization and their military is going to need to adopt more westernization because they were too easily defeated. And so he brings about those reforms in the military, the army and the navy, becoming a lot stronger and reestablishing themselves, even to the point where they're going to break off from the Ottoman Empire. They tried to defeat the Ottoman Empire, but that fails, but they do gain their independence. There's also going to be agricultural modernization during this time period, and you're going to see the only failure you're going to see in this is the fact that all of that money is put back into the military and not put back into infrastructure, and so that's going to cause some problems later on. Here's Muhammad Ali as he meets with European representatives. Muhammad Ali's successors, all right, they're going to drop some of the reforms. The iron profit from peasantry is going to become too large. Muhammad Ali at the end, to keep unity, was going to have to align himself with the Ayan, the major landlords, as a last result to keep unity with the country. And his successors are going to continue to kind of be corrupt in the economy that is occurring. Cotton will be a crucial export in this region. However, because of the money issues that they're having, they're siding with these foreign nations and getting money from them and living in their own pleasure instead of putting it back into their country. And so Egypt is going to become in debt and basically bankrupt. They will end up having to give over the Suez Canal that was starting to be built to the French and the British and their control over this region. Despite these struggles, there were some cultural flourishing with their thinkers and their universities during this time period and having their traditional Muslim rationalism. So there was some major push for westernization in the education system. Hamed Arabi is going to revolt against these khedives. However, the British are wanting to keep control of this region, and so in 1882 they were able to intervene and stop that from happening. And from that point on, you're going to have a period of puppet khedives under the British. All right, moving on to the Sudan region, you're going to see a jihad in this region. Muhammad Ahmed the Mahdi is going to proclaim a jihad against the Egyptians and the British, and they are going to move to controlling the Sudan. They will, his successor will be Caliph Abdullah, and they are prospering for a while and keeping control. Eventually they will run into General Kitchener, who will defeat them in the Omdurman battle in 1896, and the Mahdists are crushed, and so the British kind of regaining control of that region. Again, have a good understanding of your geography. Okay, Nurhaci, we're going to move into the Qing China region, and he is going to establish himself as the Manchu leader from 1559 to 1626. He's going to reunite the tribes. And what ends up happening is there's a general in northern China that's having some peasant revolts. He asks the Manchu to help him. That was the mistake. They got through the Great Wall fairly easily, and then they're going to take advantage and take over China. They will finally take Beijing in 1644 and establish the Qing dynasty. You will have Sinification of the Manchuria. They will be 1% of the population, and they are going to adapt to the Ming rule that was already in place. Again, have a good understanding of your geography of this region. The Qing social system is maintained, and the Manchu are going to bring about rural reforms. With infrastructure being maintained, they'll start with irrigation and dikes being built. Burdens are lessened by better land and less taxes on your peasantry. And they'll also have a large silver influx during this time period from the Europeans for their Chinese goods with silk and porcelain. This will also be a prosperous time for merchants as well, your compradors on the coast that are having ties to these European nations. All right, things are going to start to go south for them. You'll see the examination system become corrupt, even to the point where you had some of these people passing the exam who didn't even take it, either through bribery or they had somebody else take it for themselves, and then they would go on vacation. So there was a lot of corruption. There was also neglecting the infrastructure, so dikes weren't taken care of. Major flooding occurred, killed thousands of people, and also caused famines in regions, so you had rebellions and uprisings that were starting to occur. The British are going to take advantage of these issues that are occurring with the Manchu, and they are going to bring in opium because China was not wanting to open up their trades good enough. And so they get them addicted to the drug, and the Chinese will eventually react and try and stop this, and Lin Zhu is going to blockade the European trade. Of course, the Europeans don't like that, so force will be used. The Chinese are defeated in 1839. Hong Kong is opened up to the British, and from then on, a majority of their ports are opened up to Western European powers and even Russia as well. You will have the Taiping Rebellion. There was Hong Zhuan is looking for social reforms and land reforms. He's criticizing the Qing rulers, the Manchu. They're foreigners as well, so there's a lot of unrest there. However, they are crushed by Empress Jiji in 1898, And however, there will be an implementation of trying to remove the foreigners, your Western powers, through the Boxer Rebellion. However, that is eventually crushed by the Western powers. And with that, you're going to have a lot of Westernization. Resistance is going to go underground. Plots to push for Westernization are moved on by Sun Yat-sen, and we'll later see the China Republic in the next unit and communism come about in the next unit. But this is a great transition stage of how that's starting to occur. You'll see in 1905, the last civil service exams were given. 1911, you'll have major rebellions leading to that republic. In 1912, you'll have the last Qing emperor who is removed. This is a great chapter to have an understanding of comparisons between the Muslim lands in China and what happened. It was a great comparison in the fact that in the beginning, Egypt looked like they were going downhill, and then they're upheld by the Europeans. As the opposite occurred in China, they looked like they were going to be prosperous, and then they were going to struggle. It's also a great change over time in each of these areas individually. So I would make sure you have a good understanding for our test and for the AP exam. And that will conclude chapter 26.